So, we got situated. But we got there after the dining hall was closed for the night. So we had to go into town. We had to go into Rye to get dinner, and the only restaurant that was open was Indian food. Which is fine. I love Indian food. Had very nice butter chicken. Not a vindaloo. I mean, I can eat a vindaloo. Take a masala, maybe. But yes, we had food of the spicy variety. Then we went back to sleep. And then the next day. Remember I was saying I was thinking about something on the scale of American Gen Con? Not at a Pontins. The dealer's room. So there was the dining hall. And attached to the dining hall was the ballroom. Which had a, quaint dance floor and a stage. And there were the tables. That was the dealer's hall, was the ballroom section. It wasn't very, there was maybe a dozen vendors' tables at this thing. It wasn't very big. I think the entire convention was maybe 300 people. So, there we were. And the meals. This was the first time, again, my first trip overseas. And I'm thinking it's England. How cultural shocky could it be? Now, there were some aspects of the British breakfast I enjoyed. The fried toast, for example. Toast, fried, and animal. That was quite nice. I like that. Bacon is served a little differently. You're not quite used to what the bacon's going to be. Could have lived without tomatoes. The weird thing, and I was every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner included baked beans. The end of this convention, I didn't eat another baked bean for months. Yes, so Rosa goes, yep. So there was that, but still it was the food to be had. If we wanted to escape baked beans, we had to leave after the one other night we did go into town because Woo and a few others decided they couldn't stand the baked beans anymore, and we were going back for Indian food. Bring us the vindaloo. The company next to us, a Scottish company called Nightfall Games. Including people like Chaz Elliott and Jared Earl and Dave Alsop. Nightfall Games, some wonderful gaming people we met and we bonded with. Because we were right next to each other, so we were talking all the time. And they had heard a little bit about magic. And so we talked, and we got along quite well. How well? Well, flash forward to the future. Wizards of the Coast ended up buying Nightfall Games and rechristening them Wizards of the Coast UK. They became our UK office. We took on Nightfall Games, and they became the hub of our British distribution network. Actually, our entire European distribution network. I became good friends with several of them, including Dave and Jared. Now, the friendship with the Scots is important. Now, given, I mentioned before, so I had a very Scottish grandmother. I mentioned this the other night on the Weary 101. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it here before, but anyway, be that as it may, the point was, all right, so the first issue was being near Scottish people made Scottish aspects of my accent starts coming out, which I was fighting the whole time because I didn't want to seem like a wanker. I eventually had to explain this to them, and they're like, oh, all right, that's fair. I was calling everything a quid. I was using all the idioms, which I still do because of my brother-in-law, which we're getting to. Remember that British man I met at the Philadelphia convention? He was there again, Pete Venters. And he had time to hang. And he was like, oh, I already know you. That's really the convention where he and I became friends. And he got on quite well with everyone, including Kathleen Atkinson. He'd already There was an agree to meet because he had impressed Jesper. The upshot of that was a few months after Pete and I met at the EuroGenCon in the new year of 1994, he moved to America and went to work for Wizards of the Coast full-time as an artist, both in the art department and as an artist for the cards. This will be relevant. But so there we were at this convention. I remember going to the booths, and we were talking to people, and at one point a woman was talking to me. And she had been informed I was a Wizards of the Coast employee. And she was talking to me, and I was... At one point, Pete, what language is she speaking? He was like, English. What? She's Welsh. I just couldn't decipher her accent. This is before I was diagnosed as autistic, so I think that might have been part of it, but still. And again, Rosso's laughing at me, as well he should. Well, you're going to love this next part, Rosso. Brace yourself. So, Saturday night of the convention, they had an auction. Some Yahoo from TSR in America had flown out for the convention and was running the charity auction. Now, as best as I could tell, what they had done is just raided the warehouse of backstock, taken a few of those books, and were selling them off for charity. In the sparsely populated ballroom, and no one gave a damn. It was a dead crowd. Now, I was sitting at the Nightfall Games booth with the Scottish lads and Pete. The MC was trying to get the crowd jazzed up to bid on something. When he said a phrase that will live rent-free in my brain for the rest of my days. I don't know what Doric is, so I couldn't say. He said, "Come on, help us out. After all, we bailed you out of 2 world wars. So, those words left his mouth. My hand immediately found my face palm because he did not just say that. Pete was like, "What?" And the Scottish lads, with no other communication with each other, in unison, stood up, gave the British flip-off the 2-finger salute, and yelled, "Agincourt!" And which, again, I'm pretty sure Rosso is understanding what's going on there. So it was like, yeah, that was pretty much it. Everyone was like, yeah, he was shocked by the response he got. Which is like, well, so you're a douchebag. We understand. Yes, got it, douchebag. Noted. Years later, when Wizards of the Coast bought TSR, and several of the TSR employees moved out to their offices in Washington, I asked one of them, a Sean K. Reynolds. Great guy, Sean. Told him this story and asked about it. He said, oh, yeah, I know who that is. Yep, asshole. Ah, well, I suspected as much.